Welcome back to everyone who was watching the last video. Hello to those who joined in. This is a ramble video. Be aware of that. I felt a need to get this off my chest, and I actually tried filming a video like that, but I was mumbling, it was late, so had to erase that. Just before I got to sit and record these videos, I saw a video by Low and Smoke, Professor Walker, and he was basically telling everyone about some idiot who claimed that Lord of the Rings is a racist book. So it sparked again in my mind all this present day hysteria about everything being such and such, racist, sexist, offensive, etc., etc. And the topic I wanted to talk about is gender identity, because I was watching a bunch of videos on this topic and it puzzled me, because I, by some chance, stumbled about on the YouTube account of a girl at the time. She was, I think, modeling, and at a certain point she said, claimed, she came out and claimed she was non-binary, and hello fridge. So it sparked my interest. I read a bunch of stuff and watched a bunch of stuff. And at first I was fascinated, and then I was offended by that. Not in the sense of, oh my god, that's heresy, that's blasphemy, etc., etc. Kill it with fire. So no, me feeling offended there was a different nature to that. I'm gonna try to explain that. Well, first and foremost, I think that's nothing wrong about your perception. You can identify yourself and perceive yourself as whatever you like. No problem with that. My problem is actually with expressing that and how that changes a person's attitude towards the others, because nowadays there's a campaign to expand the number of genders. People are claiming that gender is a social construct, whatever that means, that it is something forced upon an individual, and that there are more than two genders, etc., etc. People are coming with lists of genders, which are pretty bizarre to my taste, at least. And people are claiming that saying that someone is male or female can be offensive, and to me it's kind of bizarre. People are separating sex and gender. Those are two different notions. One is, purely biological. The other one is what they call a social construct. So my idea is, if the gender does not identify an individual as male or female, then we should probably ditch that altogether. Throw away the concept of gender, leave only the sex, because the sole purpose of these notions of gender and sex is identification of an individual, male or female, man or woman, so that a guy says, I want to have kids with you. There's a slight problem, we're of the same sex. Biologically impossible to procreate. So if one of these notions is losing its purpose, identification, so what's the point? Let us leave the word that has meaning and ditch the other one. And all this stuff about about gender identification being subjective. Subjective is a word here. All that the person perceives can be divided into objective reality and subjective reality. The border between those two is sometimes blurred, but generally that's an objective reality. There's a pipe, you can see that, smell that, feel that, it has weight, it can be measured, objective reality. If people are claiming that gender is subjective, that means that gender is identified solely by a personal perception of someone. I identify as something. Problem is that there's a fundamental freedom of a human being, which is a freedom of thought or freedom of conscience, which is, reading from the Wikipedia page here, freedom of an individual to hold or consider a fact, viewpoint, or thought independent of others' viewpoints. So, if we take this definition, then you have some form of self-identification. You identify as male, female, non-binary, transgender, etc., etc., etc. And all the other millions and millions of people in the world identify you as something or someone. And my question is, how come that your self-identification is better than everyone else's? Sex is based on biology, the chromosomes, some formal identification. If someone is identifying solely because of his subjective opinion, so it's all in his or her head, or its head, I don't know. I'm not using any of those. Those, them, I'm not using that. an individual is identifying as non-binary. I identify this individual as a Chinese teapot, a purple unicorn. I'm exercising my freedom of thought. How come my thought is suddenly inferior to that individual's thought? Everyone is entitled to an opinion. I'll tell you more. I am fully entitled to express this opinion. So, if I see an individual and I identify this individual as a girl, and I'll say, you are a girl, and the individual said, well, actually, I identify as a non-binary something. The only option for me is what? Accept that thought, that identification that does not necessarily correspond to mine. How come we must accept what this person wants necessarily? If I see a guy and say he's a woman and he says, no, I'm a guy, there's some substance to that. There's an objective definition. I'm a guy. I have certain physiology, certain chromosomes. That's objective reality. If it says I'm a non-binary entity, there's no proof in that. You identify something, fine. It's up to me whether I accept it or I do not. If I value your companionship and you as a person, I might play by your rules. Or I might not. I might say, sorry, I'm just sticking with my opinion here. Purple unicorn, sorry. Oh, we can probably come to some sort of mid, somewhere in the middle, come to a compromise. But it takes this person's, 9 times out of 10, I think, it's this person's attitude that needs to be adjusted, because as far as I see all these, non-binary and transgender, etc., all these different individuals on the internet, they all want to force their notion and opinion upon others. There was a big, history in the US about bathrooms. Girl who identified herself as a guy wanted to go into the men's bathroom. In school, I think. And the school council decided we'll have separate bathrooms for this one individual. They provided some makeshift bathrooms, but the individual was not having it. I identify as a guy. I want to go to the guy's bathroom. So it's a question of principle. You know, that's my belief. I want to force it onto the whole fucking school. And everyone was saying how brave that individual was and applauded the struggle. We have to take into consideration I'm not struggling, so I cannot fully understand what these people are going through. Definitely. And I have nothing but sympathy to anyone who is in distress or who's facing bullying, who's facing, some identity crisis. I have nothing but sympathy to these people, but if this was going on in my school, my thought would be, what a pretentious asshole. They're providing a couple of separate bathrooms for this guy/girl, etc. This individual. And that's not satisfactory. Sorry. That's not equality. That's, like I said, forcing your opinion down other people's throats. If that individual said, let's have an overall vote, an unbiased and secret vote among all the guys that use the bathrooms at school, is everybody okay with this individual going to the bathroom? And if the majority votes for it, so be it. That's democracy, The majority has spoken. But then again, can you imagine if you vote against that and you're found out? All these diversity supporters will have your head on a pole. This whole bathroom debate is stupid, if you ask me. We are at this point of development of our civilization. We can have separate bathrooms and everyone can go. Have one bathroom for everyone. And those girls who want to stare at the mirror and do their makeup, sorry about that. Not your domain anymore. But this position of it's never enough for me, take me into account. I said take me into account. That's why I feel violated when I read about something like that. Because I feel like I am being forced into something instead of being led to understanding, provided information. I'm presented with this sort of a, to me at least, I'm presented with this sort of an ultimatum. These are the new rules. Well, until it's legally binding, I'm not playing. Sorry. There's an old anecdote here in Russia. It's about Jews. Sorry, Jewish people. I have nothing but admiration for Jewish people's, well, complete honesty. I'll finish with that. And it goes like this. This old Jewish guy is running into the city hall and saying, I want to have a package of documents, everything I need. I am leaving the country. I'm leaving Russia. Mr. Rabinovich, what's the problem? Why are you leaving? I'm leaving Russia. Do not say anything to me. I'm leaving. What's the problem? I do not agree. With what? I do not agree with your attitude towards faggots. Mr. Rabinovich, can you please explain yourself? Remember a time when it was a criminal offense. Mr. Rabinovich, at that time, many things were considered criminal offenses. People were in jail for lesser things than, this. Remember the time when it was treated as a disease. Mr. Rabinovich, let's face it, the state was providing medical programs and many people actually, were cured of this. Let's put it that way. Okay. Now remember the time when you said that's your personal thing. Do whatever you like. Well, that's great, Mr. Rabinovich. Isn't that great? That's democracy, freedom, personal freedom. I'm not satisfied. I'm leaving your country. I still do not understand. Why are you leaving? I'm leaving because I do not want to be here on the day when that becomes obligatory for everyone. And that concludes tonight's show. Sorry if it was a little bit too offensive. I have nothing against Jewish people, have nothing against gay people. But I'm very much opposed to something being shoved down my throat. And I hope you don't let anything like that happen to you. The shoving, I mean. until next time, I hope to be back real soon with another one of my videos. Until then, see you people. Goodbye.